So I just wait a little bit. That way we all start at the same time.
Oh, that's what everybody told me. Are you a young Earth creationist? Do you believe
or which way do you lean?
Adam and Eve. I believe that is all legit. I don't know. I'm not one way or the other of whether God created an Earth that looked old, or I don't know on that. I just believe in Adam and Eve. So I don't think we can walk around saying that's kind of Adam and Eve are a myth. Now, so old world, new world, I don't know.
Now, how about you did the episode on the giants from Enoch a couple days ago, right?
Yep.
I kind of have this theory. Rob always rolling his eyes.
I knew this one was coming too.
I kind of have this theory that before the flood, maybe those giants were actual giants, and they maybe helped build some of the, because people don't often think about, they see the pyramids and they see, all these ancient monoliths all over the place, all these ancient temples. It's funny how you see pyramids in South America and you also see them in Egypt. And my theory is that those are because they're worshiping a demon, and demons require similar worship, and the people are building a temple that's similar to those demons. And maybe those temples were built by these giants. And then the flood comes and wipes everybody out, and we start from scratch.
I mean, have you seen the Ancient Apocalypse documentary?
This is all I've been talking to everybody about. This is where I'm getting this theory from.
Every day I get 2 or 3 texts about that show.
Yeah. So, listen, Graham Hancock is going around. Now, he's a nut, right? He's a nut. And he's
amazing that he thinks everything is this ancient water apocalypse, but he won't even give any time to the Bible.
It's crazy. It's like there's this, it looks like there was a giant flood here. So my thing is, I think they're even in, I'm so glad you saw that show, because even in the myths of these people, their story has to do with this giant that comes and helps them move the blocks and build these temples. And then all of a sudden there's this giant apocalypse that has to do with water flooding everything, and everybody disappears.
Did you see my review of Graham Hancock's documentary? I did a video review of it.
No, I'm gonna have to check it out.
If you're into it, I'd be curious. Watch it and then DM me and let me know if you think I got it right.
This documentary it's so strange, because I actually said the other day, I used to be somebody who was kind of okay with there being 2 forms of the Roman Rite. I was a extraordinary form, ordinary form guy. But after seeing this documentary and understanding how important ritual is to a civilization, I mean, you have to realize these civilizations exist because the entire population comes together, they build this giant temple, and they all worship together. And when you change the ritual of a civilization, you cut it off at its knees. And that's what they did. I mean, we have Western civilization was built, the foundation of it is the traditional mass. It just is. That is the right.
All the architecture was made for the TLM.
Every bit of it.
I'd have made those structures if it were for the Novus Ordo. They wouldn't have made it.
No, and you see the structures they started to make once the Novus Ordo takes hold, right? So you start seeing these, churches in the round and things like that. We don't build these beautiful Gothic cathedrals. No, Gothic cathedral,
concrete and aluminum and glass, and it's not firm.
Gothic cathedral would take several generations. You're talking 300 years to build a Gothic cathedral.
The cathedral in Cologne took 700 years.
Yeah, so think about that now. You have a civilization coming together, a culture coming together to build this giant temple, which it's not a temple, obviously, it's a church, but we're building this monument to our God. So, because we were trying to build
for the mass,
but we were trying to build the kingdom on earth. Right? Like, that's the idea, not in some communist utopian way. We were trying to build the kingdom on earth so that when you go to mass, you're actually supposed to meditate on being in the presence of the royal king. So you're in these castles, but now when they take that away after the council, it's like they chopped us off at the knee. So I'm like, no, you can only have one Roman Rite. I agree with Francis. I just don't agree which rite. I mean, it's just, the only way you can save the West is if you bring the traditional mass back.
There was a set of stained glass windows that I saw that depicted the execution of one of the martyrs during the French Revolution. I forget which saint, but it's the set of stained glass windows of him saying the prayers at the foot of the altar as he walks up to the guillotine. And all I could think was, how many Catholics today would have no idea of what he's doing there, would have no connection to that, but yet everyone 100 years ago would instantly know,
exactly.
what he's doing, what he's saying, and why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even just, another, just culturally, yes, the temples, but then think of no one ate meat on Friday for 2,000 years almost, the whole culture, whether you were in Syria or Italy or France or Egypt or whatever, it's you just didn't do that. And it was this, we, as we can talk about being parents, we're Catholic, or we don't eat meat on Friday. We're okay, we're just not going to do it. But then your kids go to other Catholic people's house and they're well, Dad, they had hamburgers and stuff, and they're Catholic, so why can't we have hamburgers? And it's this shattered, broken, it's not a universal solid culture that we're all experiencing. There's all these different variations of my take on Catholicism. It used to be, you saw a nun, that was a nun. Now she's got a pantsuit on, and some Skechers, and it's all weird and different.
It's such a lack of understanding of what a culture is. A culture is what unites a people. And when you have all these similar customs and traditions, so it's really I had an argument with my dad the other day, because my dad used to be a practicing Catholic and he stopped going to mass. And after you stop going to mass and stop practicing the sacraments, you lose your faith. You just do. And he said, well, why do I need to be in the building? You need to be in the building because the way you pray is the way you'll believe. It's why they made us wear masks. It's why, this is why these cultures built these temples. It's what keeps a people united, and it's what actually makes you believe the faith that you are claiming to believe.
Right. Stations of the Cross. Everybody was doing Stations of the Cross every Friday in Lent. Just what you did. I'll see you at stations, And because again, you needed, in order, it wasn't just about fasting. It was, man, I need to walk with Jesus every week and go through what he went through for me and for us. And that built a culture. That on Saturday morning when your wife was being testy, you were more patient because you just did the Station of the Cross the night before. And you're you know what? I need to be more humble and more patient in my life. And that stuff started just dripping into every aspect of your life. And the novenas and the images and the artwork and the architecture, all of that was interlocked together like a puzzle. And then in the 1960s, people started saying, well, let's start taking pieces out. And it just.
And you've seen the results of it. And it doesn't matter how much it falls apart. They still won't take a glance back and look and say, okay, well, we made a mistake here. Maybe we should fix this. Maybe we should fix this. No, it's I really think we're actually going to have to, at this point, it's just so bad that I think the whole thing just has to come down to be rebuilt again.
Well, I think what happens is that's all falling apart. And we're over here. We're not starting from scratch. We still have the stones and the architecture plans and the stained glass. We're just having to in our own way, consult all that and figure out, now, what is Lent? What was Lent supposed to be?
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a podcast and talk about what 200 years ago, everybody, y'all are a bunch of idiots. What are you even talking about? But here we are having to do research and have two talking heads on the screen. How do you keep Lent? What is Lent?
Yeah, I wanted to get you and Eric Salmons on together to talk about that again, because I'm telling you, that show that Rob mentioned before really was one of those shows that actually shaped the way I try to live my life now. And it's really the reason that so few people convert now, because we don't do penance anymore.
I know.
Not doing penance is why your family members aren't converting. And it's
from that show, that show that we talked about, I think it was Eric that brought up, always whenever he goes to a restaurant, he orders what he wants. The
second thing. Yeah.
I literally started doing that day, and it's funny how those little things really stick with you.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? I mean, y'all are in the podcast space. I'm in the podcast space. What do you think is the most valuable? I mean, I think you guys have watched me for a few years. What is the most valuable thing I can do? Is it how to be trad, how to go to mass, Bible? What did Pope Francis say today?
I think that
what do you think is the biggest impact for our time?
The thing is, I think people still need to hear the variety of it, but my favorite shows you do are the ones where I learn something. Like I mean, even the show you did on the Giants the other day, I was like, oh, great, this is awesome. Like
I just wrote a script today for a new Giant show.
But I also know other people do like to know. I mean, look, if there's a major story that comes up, of course you have to address it, right? But I'll tell you,
eyes, you can't just skip it.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, no, there's no way. But I always loved when you had Matt Gaspers on. I mean, Gaspers is such a great guest. You guys, there's certain people that when I see you have on as a guest, I get really excited for. Gaspers is definitely one of them. You and Kennedy, whenever you and Kennedy do something together, I love it. So, but yeah, I love learning. I mean, you've always been such a great teacher. There was one episode you did. I remember storming out of my house one day because I had a blowout with my wife and I got so mad I smashed a vase on the floor. And I get in my car and I turn on your podcast and it just happens to come up up next, the price of your anger. And it was a podcast on the price of your anger. And I literally am looking at this $250 vase I just broke because of my anger. And I'm like, this is like, you gotta be kidding me. It's just one of those things where God was like, okay, you're gonna listen to this one. I went home and I begged her forgiveness and I was wrong and I was a loudmouth. But I still love the catechetical stuff you do, man. Please never stop doing that.
Good. Okay. That's great.
Yeah, so. I would definitely completely agree because like when there is bad things happening in the church or when you feel a little black pilled, at least when I do, the things that make me feel hopeful are just the truths of the faith. So, especially because like the more you know, the more you can see a similar situation that happened in the past and the way the church got through it then and things like that. So,
yeah, people are saying theology and more interviews. Taylor, you're a great interviewer also. So I'll tell you the next time, if we ever get you back on, I would love to get into the theology of the traditional mass, because a lot of people think that what I've been hearing lately is people saying the phrase, but Jesus is present in the Novus Ordo. And it's like, if that's your standard,
or the Eucharist is still there, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. The Eucharist is present. It's like,
why not be Eastern Orthodox? And that's the next question.
Yeah. Or even Sedevacantists at that point. I mean, you could go anywhere if the Jesus is present. Right. I mean, under certain circumstances. The point is that the traditional mass is a way to embody the faith, and it screams sacrifice the entire thing. And I would love for somebody who knows a lot more than I do to show us maybe in scripture or to get into the theology of the mass and how it differs from the Novus Ordo, and not in a Mass of the Ages way where they're just showing you what they took out and what they really just get into the depth of why this is such a spiritually rich ritual that we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we could get you back on, that would definitely be my second show topic.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So Taylor, thank you so much, man. This is
thanks, guys. This was great. I really appreciated you guys inviting me. I'm really honored, and it's good to talk with Catholics about good stuff. And this was a fruitful conversation. So thanks for having me on.
I mean, you talk about uniting the clans. This is uniting the clans. Just having conversations with other guys that really love the faith and stuff. So
if people wanted to read into that typology on Babylon in your new book, where's the best place to buy your new book?
Catholic bookstore or Amazon, or if you want a signed copy, you can go to patreon.com/Dr. Taylor Marshall.
Yeah, and the new St. Thomas Institute. I've been a member there for years.
Oh, you have? Good. Yeah. We've been doing some work over there. And I just recorded my first 3 lessons. Dan's editing them right now this week. I got a new course called Apocalyptic Studies, which will start dripping out. So we're doing, of course, we're doing the book of Revelation. We're doing all the apocalyptic genre in the Old Testament. We're doing private revelation. We're doing book of Enoch, Marian apparitions, everything apocalyptic, kind of apocalyptic typology, eschatology. That'll all be rolling out this year at New St. Thomas Institute. You can go to nsti.com, sign up for that.
And real quick, I do have to plug. So yesterday after Mass, I went to a brunch for Father Hugh, our priest's 45th anniversary to the priesthood. And I sat down with my friend Don and his wife. And Don's wife has a website. Rob, do you have the link I sent you to the website? Can we put that link up?
Yep, I'm gonna grab it real quick.
Take me just a minute. I forgot the name of the website offhand, but I promised her I'd throw her a plug. And really just getting to hang out with the people after Mass has been so cool. I met a guy, Tom, who watches our show. He was at our parish. Do you find a lot of people, because I go to the same parish as Kevin James, and we never bother him. We want him to please be at peace at Mass. Do you find people come and bother you while you're at Mass?
Not rarely at Mass. Sometimes someone will come to me during Mass and try to say something. I'll say after Mass. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or if I'm in confession line, people come and try to talk to me, and I try to be as gracious and kind as possible. I'm like, who maybe talk about this after confession? Like, oh yeah.
I can't imagine you not being gracious just because of the way you've been to me. So at the risk of being a kiss ass, I'm just saying I've had nothing but positive interactions with you, brother. You've always been good to me. So all right, Rob, you put that link up. Guys, thank you so much. Please hit like, subscribe, please share this show, and